I hope you clicked on this video because you saw that thumbnail and said, woof, I gotta know what's going on here. But don't worry, it's not a doomsday video. It's a video about what I think are some of the top things you could expect Democrats to try and do if they were to win the Senate runoff race in Georgia. Before we even get into some of the points, the first thing we need to know is that if Democrats win both seats in the Georgia runoff, that would mean the Senate would be at a 50-50 tie, and Kamala, assuming she's the vice president, she would be the tiebreaker. So which way do you think she's going to lean? Bit of a rhetorical question. I think we all know which way she's going to lean based on things that she's said in the past. But getting into it now, I think one of the first things you could expect would be we would be one step closer to socialism. And I know sometimes people say that and it's kind of like fear-mongering, but really let me walk this one out because we would be one step closer to a Green New Deal, universal basic income, and universal health care. And I know some people get ragged on when they mention those, but the thing I have with universal health care is I'm not against people having health care coverage, but one, I don't think I should have to pay for your coverage, much like I don't think you should have to pay for mine. And really the second thing is I don't want government-run health care. Have you ever been to the DMV or have you ever tried mailing something with the post office? They're not really efficient, guys. So that's kind of my logic behind when I hear government saying, hey, we want to do more for you. I'm kind of like, I'm good. I can find a private company that I think will do a much better job. But with the Green New Deal and universal basic income, those are other big talking points, and you could expect to see them on the table, assuming that the Democrats were to win those two runoff seats. Another thing I would expect if Democrats were to win the Senate runoff in Georgia is you would have more bans from big tech. It's really no secret that big tech is on the Democratic side because you can walk through countless stories and see, well, people that are on the right or people that have controversial opinions, they're the ones that get shadow banned or flat out banned, temporary, suspensions, whatever you want to call it. I really haven't seen anyone get banned or censored on the left. If you do know a case where someone was and they do lean to the left, I want you to comment below and let me know. But I think you would just have more of that behavior enabled because Democrats would say, all right, well, we won. Now what we need to do is silence the other side's opinion, because if people talk about all the bad things we're doing, that's going to turn our voting base against us. The third thing I would expect to see if Democrats were to win those two seats in Georgia would be more bans on our Second Amendment rights. And I know you're probably like, geez, dude, this is like the fifth video you've done where you've mentioned the Second Amendment. I not only believe in the Second, but I believe in all of our constitutional rights. So based on things that Joe and Kamala and really all the Democrats have said, not only this past election cycle, but years, right? Like years it's been building up. They talk about how they want to have a new assault weapons ban, more common sense gun laws, which that's just a buzzword. It makes them sound more reasonable. But I've done a video and I'll post it in the video here, so you can click on it if you want to watch that, if you haven't done so already. But I would expect that because you have that potential 50-50 tiebreaker and Kamala's obviously leaning to the left, you would absolutely see a new assault weapons ban. And there's really not much we could do about it. Maybe the Supreme Court could step in, but I'm not even sure which way they would lean at this point. The fourth idea that I think would absolutely be on the table would be an increase in our taxes. And someone might say, well, folks, they only want to raise taxes on those who make more than $400K. They're not going to hurt your tax revenue. Well, here's the thing. Do you trust someone that's been a politician for 40 some odd years, or do you not trust that person? I'm leaning towards I don't trust that person, because I think Joe and Kamala and all the Democrats, they say what they have to say in order for people to elect them. And then once they get elected, then they get to do whatever they want. So yeah, there's been plenty of videos where Joe Biden says, hey, I just want to raise taxes on 400K and plus and whatever. But then there's plenty of videos where he says, well, I want to repeal the Trump tax laws, like outright. I want to get rid of them. And I've done a video, I'll post it up top, where I actually briefly mentioned Trump's tax laws and how the individual, like those marginal tax brackets, well, they decreased for the majority of us. So if you were to ban those tax laws or the Trump tax cuts outright, well, that means our taxes are going to go up. And if Democrats want to fund all these new programs, like I mentioned before, the Green New Deal, universal basic income, universal health care, they want to fund everything else, increase spending in the government, well, they got to get that money from somewhere. And I understand everyone thinks that billionaires have these just vast amounts of wealth, that it's just sitting around and we're just going to take it and we're going to, redistribute it. But even then, if you were to tax them at 100%, you're not going to have enough money to fund everything that they want to fund. So who do you think is going to have to bear that tax burden? Well, you can't tax poor people even more than you tax them now because they don't have the revenue. So it's going to come down to us. It's going to be people in that middle class range. Our taxes are going to have to increase. And I don't want to see that. Hopefully you don't want to see that either. But the fifth and final thing I think you could expect to see from Democrats if they were to successfully win those 2 seats in the Georgia runoff would be, well, our foreign policy would not be anywhere near where it is now. And what I mean by that is we would coddle up to China, we would coddle up to Russia. The Iran nuclear deal would probably be back on the table. Yeah, you know, where we wanted to send over billions of dollars to where they could basically fund a nuclear program. Don't even get me started on that. But it's no secret that Joe Biden wants China to become stronger. And you could argue, you could say, yeah, he wants to see America totally perish or whatever, and he's, compromised by foreign interests. You could absolutely get into all of that stuff. But what he said repeatedly in his rhetoric, that the stronger China is, the stronger we will become. So that's really the one thing that's up for debate. In terms of Russia, you have all the aggression that they have going on overseas, how they actively do want to try and take over smaller satellite countries, right? Kind of out of a playbook that we've seen in World War II. But during the Obama administration, they had something called the line in the sand, right? And it was like, hey, Russia, if you cross this line in the sand, oh, you're going to pay for it. And what do you think happened? Well, they crossed the line, they kept on going, and all the administration kept saying was, don't do it again, oh, you're going to be sorry for what you're about to do. So I don't think foreign policy, our true adversaries, are really going to be held accountable, and you're going to see a lot of big stories break because these countries, in my opinion, I think they're going to become emboldened because they're going to see our potential leader isn't as strong as the one we have right now. No matter what you could say about him, I understand. You might not like him. There's certain things that you don't care for, but you can't deny his appearance and the way that he talks. He's kind of that guy that has that crazy twitch in the eye, and you got to sit there and say our enemies have to kind of be like, he might actually do something, right? Like he might actually launch some sort of attack on us if we were to step out of line. And that's where I kind of think having someone like that in power does more good than harm. Just my opinion. But listen, these are just my brief thoughts about what I think you could expect to see from Democrats if they were to win those 2 runoff seats in Georgia. So I want you to let me know, do you think that these sort of top 5, and these were in no particular order, but do you think that the things that I just mentioned, do you believe that Democrats would try and push this stuff through if they were to win those 2 seats? Do you think I missed anything? Do you think I stepped over the line on any of the potential issues? Also, what do you think? Do you think Republicans or Democrats are going to win the Georgia Senate runoff? I don't know, to be completely honest with you. So if you have an idea, I want you to let me know. But as always, I appreciate you checking out the video. Please comment. I want to hear your thoughts on this.